days. How are you?
Good, you? What's going on? Haven't seen you. Yeah.
If anybody wants to speak on an agenda item, you need to sign in up here because we will be following our rules of order. You need to be recognized. You need to be recognized to speak so that the board, we have trouble hearing up here. So any conversations or anything, we're going to ask you guys to step outside if you need to talk, because that way we can hear each other. We have a quorum present, proof of notice. It's been up on the message boards for probably 3 days. Paulette, you want to read the meeting minutes?
Sure. From May 13th?
Yes. Okay.
Call to order. Meeting was called to order at 7:05 p.m. by Linda Southern and read the memo regarding the Robert's Rules of Order. Established a quorum. Quorum of the board members was established. Present were Don Hanson, Linda Southern, Rebecca Ionati, and Paulette Preston. Jeff Esanek was absent. Also present were Vanessa Martinez from Legal and Management. Proof of notice. The meeting was posted at the entrance message board of the community clubhouse 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Approved prior meeting minutes. Meeting minutes were read by Mrs. Preston. Mrs. Preston made a motion to approve the March 4, 2014 meeting minutes with corrections. The motion was seconded by Mr. Hanson. All in favor, motion passed unanimously. Mrs. Ionati made a motion to approve April 11, 2014 meeting minutes as submitted. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Sutton. All in favor, motion passed. Mr. Hanson made a motion to approve the April 22, 2014 meeting minutes as submitted. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Ionati. All in favor, motion passes. Management update financial. Ms. Martinez reviewed the management report and delinquencies. Suspend rights for collections. A list of accounts delinquent more than 90 days was submitted to the board. Mr. Hanson made a motion to approve the suspension of the attached list. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Ionati. All in favor, motion passed. Reports of committees. Website. Mr. Hanson advised that there was no update. CCR documents. Mr. Hanson didn't have anything to update. Landscaping. Mrs. Suggs gave an update regarding the Valley Crest crew change on property. Social committee. Mrs. Suggs didn't have anything to update. Old business. LED lights. Mrs. Suggs made a motion to rescind the previous motion that was made on March 4, 2014 to approve the LED lights through Lighthouse and seek other options offered by Lighthouse. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Preston. All in favor, motion passed. Update on Clubhouse computer system. Mrs. Preston advised that the computer system needed to be downgraded to Windows 7 to be compatible with the card access system. The cost was $265. Update on Adopt a Road program. Mrs. Ionati didn't have anything to update. Update on pool repair items. Mr. Hanson gave an update on pool repairs. New pumps were installed, reducers were repaired, hoses were repaired, and the engine was upgraded due to issues. Kiddie pool refurbishing update. Mr. Hanson advised that one stop has begun working on the kiddie pool. Tennis courts. A motion was made by Mr. Hanson to approve the proposal from Cross Courts for a total of $24,960. Includes the tennis courts, fence work, and basketball court. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Sutton. All in favor, motion carried. New business. Age for pool use. The pool age was discussed. After discussion, the age agreed upon is 14 if the resident is at the pool alone and 18 to have guests. Discuss appointment of new board. This item was open for discussion. After discussion, the board asked that the manager send Mr. Esanek a letter asking if he is still interested in serving on the board of directors. The board, in the meantime, will have the 2 open positions posted on the website. Pool slide. A presentation was given by Mr. Hanson of the 3 proposals received for pool installation. The decision was placed on hold until a few questions are answered and warranties were submitted. Without further notice, questions from the homeowners and additional comments from the board of directors meeting was adjourned at 9:38 p.m. Any corrections?
The kiddie pool update was said one stop that should be classed as one site. And
issues, I mean, that was already established with the 14-year-old and the 18. I think what we were discussing it, the 14-year-old complaint said that they're younger than that. Because that was already established that they could be here.
On the LED lights and stuff, where it says see other options walking by Lighthouse, have you saw other options?
Not yet,
Would you like them?
no. He just said to contact him if we had decided on something else. That's the only.
You know,
No. He just said, he just left it open to contact him.
if I could just make a few comments about the LED project. I don't know how many of you were here at budget approval, like last fall, when we were working through all that. Basically what we did was we budgeted a line item in the actual current year's budget for the LED conversion project. Now, it was about $11,500 roughly, more or less. What that was for was to convert our existing halogen lights, which burn a lot of electricity. We've got either 300 watt or 500 watt light bulbs in every single entrance to the neighborhoods. They burn a lot of electricity. And what the LED conversion project's intent is to save electricity. It wasn't for enhancement or to make anything look any better than what it was. And that's why the contractor that we chose, that we all voted on back in March, he said, listen, I'll get you the same brightness and illumination as your existing halogen lights, but at a fraction of the electrical cost. So basically, we had about 20 watt light bulbs, LEDs, compared to 300 or 500 watt light bulbs. That project would have paid for itself within less than 3 years. Okay? And that was the intent. The intent wasn't to make the entrances look any better or anything like that. We wanted to just convert so we could save electrical costs. And if we had implemented that in April and had the job done, we would have saved about $2,500 this year. Okay? And then about $3,000 every single year until the $11,300 was made up. And then every year we would have saved about $3,000. Well, that didn't happen, and to be honest with you, I was really disappointed because I did all kinds of analysis, I did all the calculations of how quick the payback would be, and it just didn't happen. And of course, I was personally disappointed, I really was, because Justin went out of his way. He's the contractor, it's called Lighthouse Illumination. He actually went out of his way and installed, I don't know if anyone noticed, but he actually installed the actual lights that he had proposed for the entire neighborhood. And I don't know if anyone noticed that, but to me, and for many people I spoke with, it was just as good as the other side of the sign. It was just as bright. There was still glare, but there was glare on both sides. So, you know, he installed those on his own dime. How many contractors do you know who would have done that? Give you something. I mean, do you think that the pool contractors who researched the pool would have said, hey, here's an example of my work. I'm going to go into a whole section of the pool. If you like it, you go with me. If you don't, you don't. Well, that didn't happen. He actually installed it on his own dime. He left it up for 2 weeks, and then the decision was made, well, we're not going to go down this path because we're not sure that we have enough money. So I'm just giving like a little history here.
No, I think what it was we didn't like how they looked. It wasn't about the money because we knew.
Well, the reason was initially that we don't have enough money. We're not sure if we have enough money. Nancy Baez from Leland Management did the financial analysis. I already knew there was enough money. I knew that by the time we started the project, it was going to be early April. That's when all the assessments start rolling in because all the assessments are due on April 1st. Well, the thing was like they didn't feel comfortable with my advice, but rather Nancy did her whole analysis. About a week after I had already said we have plenty. She confirmed that we had plenty of money. But then we started dragging our feet. Justin did the installation, and we started dragging our feet. How about this? How about that? Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And Justin reinstalled the original halogen lights, put in 2 brand new bulbs, because that's the kind of guy he is. I know he does good work. He's reputable. He's licensed. He's fully insured. He was going to be a good guy, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So I hope that we can revisit that at some point in the future, but to me that's a loss to this neighborhood. It really is. Hopefully at some point this board or any other people that get appointed will decide that we should go forward with that. The best solution I think, but it's going going to be costly would be if you had backlit LEDs. You know, that would be sharp, and it'd be forever, it'd be tasteful, it'd be like timeless, but, you know, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So I just wanted to share that with you. And the other thing I wanted to share too, if I could, is that, I gotta apologize that, in a lot of meetings I kind of bark at people sometimes and I get a little ornery. And I'm gonna try not to do that this evening. But, the reason why I've gotten that way, and it's not a good excuse, is, I care a lot. And every single one of you sitting out there, you care too. And some of you are standing out there. You're here because you care about this neighborhood, you want it to be a good neighborhood, you want it to be, run well, okay? And that's what we're trying to do and stuff, and I hope that we can, meet your expectations. So that's all I got to say about that, and I might have some other comments before the night's over, but, I just wanted to share that, okay? Oh, yeah, I had one other question too. Regarding the tennis courts, do we have a proposed timing? Do you want to get this done by, in June? What's the proposed timing?
I don't think that they would usually give us on the schedule to
Yeah, we just got the insurance from the fence person, and Vanessa had said, I must have missed it. I had not talked to her to see exactly what it would fit in the schedule. So I would say we're looking maybe July. Yeah.
Can we try to nail a time?
Well, they have to put you on our schedule, because when we met, that's what she was
We
saying.
can sign it.
No.
But who's in charge of that? Is it Don, guy? Yeah?
I can coordinate it, I just need.
And all we've got to do, I think, Jim, is have Linda sign what I didn't think that we had. So, I think we're going to miss that too. So we do have a contract to sign. And once we get that signed, then we can find out when she's.
All right, so do we have proofs of insurance?
Yes.
General liability, workman's comp?
That's one thing that we're hanging on by.
We don't have that yet?
Yes, we do. Yes, I want a proof of insurance from the person that's installing, doing the fence work. I want his. And I wanted also hers, which she did have with the contract.
Now, that fence company, is that A&G? Do they sometimes, do they actually work with us?
Contracted with
The reason why I'm asking that is that at one point in time, I was trying to get a quote from fencing companies, and P&G was one of the companies, and I tried twice, and they never got back to me. So I'm thinking maybe they're the go-to subcontractor for cross-court servicing.
Central Florida Fence and
Okay, so we're not
Orange City.
Okay. Now, do we know that cross-court is licensed to do that kind of work in Orange County? Is that a question I was asked? I just want to make sure.
I don't think that they need a license to do that in Orange County. I wanted a license to make sure that she was licensed to apply the product.
Okay.
And which she is. I've got that. And she's got her certificate.
What kind of certificate are you talking about?
Jeff, you originally had the tennis courts.
That's true, but we did
So-
vote. And we did vote on it. We did
Yeah.
vote to go
Because
forward.
Crossville had the best warranty.
But that did not include the fence repair.
Right.
Because that was separate. So now it's all been rolled into one contract that suddenly has grown by about, 5 or 10,000.
Well, we also put the basketball courts in it too.
On the basketball courts. Now, everyone understands that the basketball courts were not budgeted for.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where some of your assessment dollar amount is. It's going to be a major improvement, but, it wasn't something that we had planned for, but.
It was on 24, was it, like total?
20.
Now, I'm guessing that the money that is not going to be spent for the LED conversion project will be spent for the basketball court for service.
No.
So we're just kind of moving dollars around.
No. I don't know what that is. I got it.
Well, we might, just keep the meeting going. We can provide that at some point for the rest of the board members. I haven't seen it yet, so, I know I asked them, but proof of insurance, I would like to see a copy of it. It must be electronic format somewhere, right?
Yes.
I see what you got.
You got the next one? And then, any literature regarding, or some proof that there's a license to apply the project, I guess would be good.
Yeah, I got that. I thought I already had that.
Okay, so we need to.
got visitors.
Not much, $30.
Just to give you an update on the basketball court, we might have missed that. We're losing the corner on the basketball court, so that needs to be, corner is deteriorating. So that's why we need to get that repaired. And also, it should have been painted from day one, and it was not. So it's wearing out faster than it needs to be. And I think that was like $4,000, $4,000 or $5,000 to do that repair and to get that painted.
So Vanessa's going to coordinate, try to get it dropped some time, get out of there. Okay, I'm good. So someone's going to make a motion to approve it?
Yep.
Okay.
We need a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections.
Okay, that's the motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
All in favor?
Wait a second.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The May financial's not ready yet, so we're gonna go over your April 30th financial. They're due April 16th, if we receive the financial. As of April 30th, which is last month, the month before, your account receivables was at $348,130.98. 6 homes changed ownership in the month of April. The accounts receivable includes 45 accounts that are going to mortgage foreclosure, which are delinquent under assessments. 21 have declared bankruptcy, and 9 have been discharged, which we are moving forward with collections. In the month of April, we received $10,346.45 in passport adjustments. 54 accounts are the attorney for collections. We're granting a title of 4 units, of 4 homes, due to a lien foreclosure, which means that they pay the assessments in the association of title, temporarily to the bank takes title. We have been doing covenant enforcement on a monthly basis. The report is given to the board every month. And the cross court, we're still waiting on contracts to set up a date on that. LED lights were put on hold. And the key goal was the work has been started for the resurfacing. The proposal to replace the rails was given to the board, and we're going to discuss that today. The cleaning of the tiles is still pending. And the security access camera system and camera system, we're getting proposals on that, so we have those two replaced. We're going to discuss that in a little bit. And that's all.
One thing I'd like to note that, as you mentioned, that none of the houses that we currently have title of are being rented. That is reflected in the financials. But if you look on page 1 of the income expense statement, the second line item, 4030, says net rental income. You'll notice in both the actual current period and year to date that the actual number is 0, which is proper, but there should be no number in the budget because we didn't budget anything. So obviously something's been put on the wrong line item, and Nancy needs to fix that. Because if you got 3,333 in the budget column, that's just not what it ought to be. My guess is that is miscellaneous income, like maybe clubhouse rental fees and other stuff. Although she does have 1,000 miscellaneous income, so I just don't know what that is. How she put that budget number in there? It just looks wrong. And basically, how we're looking so far year to date is that our expenses are 28,000 under budget, which that's a good thing. A few of the line items are a little bit over, a few line items are a little under. And so far as income goes, we're ahead of budget by about 4,000, that's very positive too. So year to date we're in pretty good shape. It's not like we're blowing the budget. We're doing really well. We're actually $32,000 ahead of budget. So if everything continues down the same path and everything just we basically our income, our expenses keep our income the whole rest of the year. We have $32,000 at the end of the year. Okay. Now, of course, we got a lot of other stuff coming up, and a lot of expenses that are baked into the budget that eventually we're going to get around to. You got a mulching project that was included in this year's budget, so that mulching should take place, I hope sometime soon, because, you know, we got the irrigation system in, and I think now is a good time to, you know, start
I
planting.
don't know, but I'll have to ask them when they recommend, because
Yeah.
usually they'll tell you when we need to do something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But we sorely need mulching out there, you know, you walk around, it's thin out there.
Well, they didn't put a good coat down last time either, so.
Right, but we did budget for that, and I think we got about $14,000 budgeted. So I don't have the copy right there, but it's pretty substantial.
We have 21,000.
Yeah.
21,000.
Start replacing them.
All right, those are my only comments.
All right.
Attached, you'll see the list of the accounts that are 90 days past due. There's 73 accounts. Of course, some have gone off, because they pay assessments. This is the list that's up today.
Need a motion to approve
Oh, yes, to suspend rights of collection. Make a motion to suspend rights.
All in favor?
Well, before we get into that, I want to just answer Jeff's question. Jeff, you had a question about email, and you never responded to it, so I just want to make sure that we're clear as to the time posted for that money. Okay.
Yeah, it seems so complicated, just stuff, you know.
Well, let me just explain it to you, and see if you agree with this. We had a line item, in the tennis courts, for $16,400. Okay?
In the current year, budget.
So far, we've paid 2 rounds of that for $8,200.
Yeah, but you can't look at it that way. Can't. The budget item is the budget item. It doesn't make a difference like when you spend it and stuff and how much the assessments we've received are at this point in time. You know, the way you gotta look at it is that it's an expense, and you know what? If we go ahead and spend that money up front, you know, say we spend it before all the money's been collected, you know, then we'll, that particular month or two, we're gonna be looking negative, you know, if we spread the payments, like, we pay half of it one month and then half the next month. Well, we're gonna be over budget, and we'll like show like a negative situation for that line item for those 2 months. But then every other month after that, and stuff, we'll start making it up, and by year end, it'll equalize out.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
it's a timing thing, so
If I spent 16.4 and I already theoretically collected 8.2, where's the other 8.2 come from?
it's just that the assessments come in quarterly,
I
okay?
know, but the deal is, we didn't collect that money
Well,
yet.
you know what, with that rationale, a lot of stuff wouldn't get done until the end of the year. Sure, when all the money has been accumulated.
But how much can you spend without getting into the point that you can't have your operating expenses and you run out of money?
It shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. And you know what? If you need to, we could ask, you know, Nancy to do the analysis. What really needs to happen here, folks, you know what? And I'm a proponent of this, and I'll be glad to do this. What needs to happen is we have to list all the different projects that we want to do. Okay? Get them all out there. Okay, whether it be reserves or baked in the operating budget. And list them. And then you need to prioritize them. If there's 10 of them, let's prioritize them 1 through 10. Then what we need to do is let's see when we can afford to do that. Or, okay, and we need to like top them in the proper monthly buckets, okay? And then we can manage the expenses and stuff. I'd be glad to do the analysis because, you know, some of them are going to be paid for out of full reserves that we already have on the books. You know, we have right now at the end of April, we've got a substantial amount out there, folks. You know, it's not all meant to be spent this year. But, there is a big chunk.
Okay, so,
$162,000 at the end of the day. Well, that's a lot of dough, and we can pay for a lot of this stuff.
so from what you just said,
Yeah.
about all these line items that we have, if we spent all those line items and did all of January,
Well, then that would be ridiculous, because that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
But what we need to do is, we can pay for this tennis court stuff and stuff, and if you look at it in July, we'll be able to afford this thing, and because
well, we'll have the third collection come in.
we don't have to get to the third question now, we really don't, we don't. With that rationale, we're gonna have to wait for everything at year end, because, and that's just not the case, it's not.
Well, I agree,
Okay, because you know what, we're gonna be over budget on certain line items, we're gonna be under budget on other line items. Today, okay, just take a look at it. We're showing $32,000 that we're ahead of budget. That's basically net income.
There's the tennis courts.
You folks, we're not, we're not profit here. We're not profit. We said that everything should come down to zero at year end. And that's why last year we had $15,000 hanging we had net income of $15,000. And that's why I propose to take the money out of the operating account and put it into our reserves where we can truly use it. Okay? So all I know is that with a little finesse, I can schedule it all out for you, and we can all come to agreement. It's something that makes sense. Okay? We really can do it, and it doesn't all have to be based on how much have we collected up to this point.
But you realize that we've spent $12,000 on irrigation, that was a line item. We were going to spend $12,000 on lights, that's a line item, and we've got $16,400 for tennis courts, that's a line item.
Right, but
So we were going to spend all three of those within it.
Okay, well, let's backpedal a little bit. You just talked about the LED, got to put on hold. Okay, so that was $11K that we were going to spend for the LED. Well, that $11K could be applied over here.
Okay.
Okay, so again, folks, it just requires a little finesse, and it's not impossible. If you're willing to allow me to do that analysis, I'll be glad to do it. And then what we have to do is just prioritize again what's most important. Because you know what, folks? I was so excited when it came down to January. I was so excited. I was like, oh man, the pool's going to be done, the tennis court's going to be done. So much the LED conversion is going to happen. And well, the great thing is that we did get the irrigation done. So hey, you know what? We ought to give ourselves a hand for that one. But you know what? A lot of other stuff is going to be visible, and I think we need to start doing that for this community. I really think we do. Let's not experience paralysis by analysis by overthinking this thing. Okay? If you allow me to do it, I'll be glad to do it.
Okay, so when we go to pay for this, like 24,960, you'll take some of this out of operating and some of it out of reserve.
Well,
This is in reserve, we got 21,558 in reserve as far as January of 2015 for the tennis courts.
right.
Okay.
And what we can do is, and I think we should do it, we should actually vote to pull the money that was in the reserves for 2015, applicable to the tennis court reserves, and say that it's going to be used basically this year for other purposes. Because, we already put in the budget. We took the $15,000 that was going to be spent next year. That was going to be spent out of reserve. This year, because there was a lot of residents wanted to get that done, we baked that into the current year operating budget. So it's going to be paid out of the current year's assessments, as opposed to being paid for out of reserves next year. So I think, I would propose that I'd like to propose that the $15,000, just to make it official, that was allocated for the tennis courts resurfacing in 2015 be used for other purposes, other items this year. So, and you know what that's going to be used? Pool slide. If we decide to go for it on the pool slide. Okay? Let's hear me out, folks, okay? In this reserve schedule, we had a big monster reserve study done back in June of 2012, okay? And he projected, this guy's an engineer who does this stuff all day long. And he does it for all kinds of HOAs and condominium projects. And he went around this entire neighborhood, looked at the condition of everything, and said, okay, the neighborhood's 12 years old. This needs to be done, this needs to be done. Not all needs to be done this year, but he scheduled it out for the next 30 years. And then he also baked in how much construction costs are going to go up every year. So it's all figured out. And basically, the bottom line was is that he said that the tennis courts need to be done, and he was hoping that they would be done in 2016. I said, listen, we pulled back to 2015. So this guy was like reasonable around it. And basically, he said, money that you need to put away every single year so that you can afford these various projects. So, and he says you got to consider this pooled reserves for all your various needs. And so, I guess the point I'm making here is that it can definitely do these sort of things. Now, the thing was, like last year, in last year's 2013 reserves, there was a $75,000 line item. That was supposed to be for a new slide, okay? And then we started tossing on the idea of a splash pad, okay? So, and of course, that got to be really expensive. We were up to 96 at some point. We decided, yeah, we can't do that. So this is, I'm telling you, this is how we can afford the pull slide, okay? $75,000 that was not spent last year. It's still part of that 162 that's sitting in our balance sheet on reserves. It's collecting some interest, and some of it's, you know, well, it's in a money market, basically, collecting a little more interest than in the operating account. Okay, so 75 from last year. That 16,000 that we had left over at the end of last year, that was going to just sit there in retained earnings, we decided that we're going to take that money and put it into reserves. So you got 75. Now, stick with me, folks. 75 plus that 16. Now we're up to 91. All right? Now, how much we were about up to 107 on the full slide, right?
Well, at one time, yeah, but as your interest had waned and whatnot, I reviewed those numbers to say, I know I've got 91. I know,
You know what?
I got a tennis court to fix, I got this stuff to fix, and I got that stuff to fix, so I know I got 91.
Okay, okay, you know, stick with me, folks. We're up to 91. Right in there, 75, 16 from last year, 91. Where are we going to get the other 16 from? Next year, the tennis court's 15,000. You pulled it into this year, now you're at 106. You short by a grand. Listen, we can go take a grand out of some other line item. We can make the pull slide happen. Folks, it's just a little finesse. It's doable. It's doable. It just depends on whether or not we can get past these issues.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I don't know what all those issues are.
Well, if we pulled 15 out of those tennis courts, then how are we going to afford the 24.9?
The LED project. Because we had, in the
So
operating budget, we had how much?
So you're
16.4?
saying to hold off the LED project until next year?
Well, that looks like the path you're going on, you know.
Wasn't going on,
Well, you know, hey, I asked whether or not, you know, we have sought other options. It sounds like that's not happening, so yeah, that's fine, okay, but that's, you know. True, and I agree with you, Don, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But you've got 15, 16.4, 16.4 is in the budget, current year operating budget, okay? 11,000 was going to be in the LED project, well, we made a decision, we're not going to spend it there, okay. 16 plus the 11 from the LED project, you can afford the tennis courts.
Okay.
Come on, folks. We can do it.
Well,
that's not going to you. Well, all right. So anyway, so again, if I could just kind of get some feedback, if you guys want to go ahead and do this analysis, we can kind of spread this out, and then we can do the prioritization too.
Okay.
You know, and by month, when do we want to slot this, and then Vanessa can do all the scheduling and stuff, and let's get some stuff done.
I think it's great.
I mean,
I'm good with that. I'm just trying to tell you where I thought the money would be.
I need
If you
some
want to move
feedback.
stuff around, then fine.
Well, I'm all for Jeff doing the analysis.
Yeah. Just tell them we got the walls done. We've got tennis courts, basketball courts, and the mushrooms done. That's coming out of reserves. That was reserved for 2015 and 2023 to do that mushroom. Yes, so I was going to pull that out of reserves. We got,
well, I mean, I think we ought to make a decision on it and vote to do that because, you know, the way, okay, folks, in this year's budget, part of, a big chunk of the expenses is allocations to reserves. So basically, we take, you know, some of your assessments, okay, and we allocate it to reserves. Some of them will be spent in the current year, and some of them are going to be spent out in the future, okay? So, and then, so like basically $19,250 every quarter, the first month of every quarter, is basically, you know, put into reserves so we can do some of these things. So that's what's happening there. And but so far as the mushroom, you know, that was money that was allocated in 2015.
yeah.
And of course, the 76,000 that we're putting into the reserves this year, it didn't figure in that. So that really should be a board decision. That, you know, money that would have been spent in 2015 is going to be spent this year. You know, and I don't know if that vote was taken because I don't believe that was ever put up for a vote.
What, for the mushroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. But we didn't
it was, the chemicals in it. We kept having problems with being able to maintain.
Right, so what meeting was that voted on? But we didn't say it was gonna come out of reserve, did we? I don't remember that.
I don't think we said.
I remember they making, I think they do it now.
We were just, yeah, we voted on it, but I didn't think where it was gonna come from. That was my issue.
How much we talking about there?
64.45.
Well, we may be able to,
just paint the mushroom?
no, research.
Resurfacing, painting, refurbishing.
Well, you know what, I can take a look at that. I'm sure we can work out.
Just let me know where to pull.
It really should be out of operating fund.
And we can do that if we hold off the element project.
Okay. So, yes, I feel it would be appropriate that I'd like to propose that we make it official and say that the $15,000 in the reserves for 2015 for the tennis court resurfacing will be used towards other reserve items in the current year, whether it be pool slide or something else. I think it's going to the pool slide, but, that's TBD.
Is that gonna give us enough? You're gonna pull 15,000 out.
No, we're going to pull 15,000 from, that would have been out there in 2015 to use for the current year.
Okay, how can we pull it before we have it?
Well, we've got at least
You
15.
got to do the analysis,
Yeah, do it. Do that.
Because you know what? The way it works, folks, the reserves don't get depleted down to zero at 12/31. At December 31st, our reserves are not zero. At the end of last year, they were 121. It would have been a lot less if we did post slide. It would have been 121 less 75. I mean, we were only having $50,000 roughly, okay? But it was 121. We didn't do 75. But that money hopefully can be spent this year if we do decide to go forward on the full slide. And you know what, if we decide that we can't do a full slide for whatever reason, well, it would just be good to know that we can use that money for other reserve type items in the current year. And you know what, if we get to a point where we can't do it, then you know what, we'll just let it ride, and then we'll spend it next year. But I'm just saying, we pull it out of 2015, pull it into this year, and say, okay, so at year end, if our balance would have been 65, well now it'll just be 80. We'll have an extra 15 if we don't actually spend it. So. Anyway, how does everyone feel about that?
Well, if according to what you were saying, we got 16 line items for the tennis court position. If we pull 8,560 out of the tennis courts for 2015 into the tennis courts, then all we're taking is 8,560 out of the reserves for the tennis court. So either way you want to do it.
Again, it's just a matter of allocating it properly and stuff. That's all it is and stuff, But, I feel very comfortable.
Take the LED, you just say that it's take the LED money and the tennis courts that are operating expenses, and then your tennis courts are paid for, so you have the entire 15K of tennis courts that
You
you
need
do
to raise your hand and talk, please.
squeeze. Are you kidding?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing.
Well,
Because you did that when I was on the board.
okay, well, come on. Look at that. I mean, what's important here is that, okay, the 15,000 that was out there in the tennis courts for last year, for 2015, I'm proposing that be applied towards the pool slide project, okay? That's a big chunk of it. And what I'm saying is that if we decided that we don't want to do the LED project, then let's just scratch that. We can revisit that in the fall if we decide we want to do it for next year, okay? But let's take that 11,000, let's put it to use, folks, okay? And we can take the 11,000 out of the LED line item for expenses for this year, pop it into tennis courts. Now we're good to go.
Okay.
Let's get some stuff done.
All you do is people will budget on one line item.
Well, I just don't want to, after we've got all these line items in here, we spend it all. If we had $1 million of line items and spend
No,
it all.
I'm just saying that what we're gonna have is a line item that's gonna be over budget, but the other one's gonna be under budget, so it's.
I realize that, but as you spend money, then all of a sudden the light bill comes in.
No, but Don,
You're already
Don,
so under
Don, you're
budget.
an engineer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you're an awesome engineer. And you've got zillions of years of experience, okay? I'm a CPA with 20 years of experience, 35 years total experience, okay?
You're telling me we're
Can
okay?
you just trust on me?
Yes, yes. You're telling me we're okay, we're okay. We'll just ask you, where's the money gonna come from, and you make it happen.
I just explained to you,
Yeah.
32,000 had a budget already.
Yep. Yep.
441 cents. Okay, if we keep on the same path, we're gonna be 96,000 had a budget. Okay? We're gonna have 96,000 net income. Now, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna finally start spending some serious money here to improve this neighborhood, but if you trust on me and you value what I bring to the table, you just let me do it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you decide, you know, I'll propose something, I'll leave it up. Thanks, Don.
I need a video.
You know, that reminds me, you know, that was like a delayed reaction. Years ago, people would tell a joke, you know, and you can probably relate to this. Everyone would be laughing. My mom would laugh right along with everybody. And then somebody would say, I don't get it, you know? And then everyone would laugh some more because, you know, it was a delayed reaction. She finally understood it. So I know that wasn't the case. Come on.
Okay, so moving on, so you're gonna give us the analysis. All right.
As long as you're receptive to know.
We'll let you know what projects we got, you tell us where the money's coming from.
Okay, can you give me a full list of all the projects you want to do and the approximate cost?
Yeah.
I think I know what most of them are, but, you know.
Yeah.
You can afford that to me, along with the dollars and stuff, that'd be good.
Now, because in the minutes, when we approve the minutes now, is this, if you're gonna be doing all this, are you staying?
Well, I'd like to stay on board at least until you know, I do pull the analysis together, and, you know, if you like it, fine. If you say, Jeff, you know,
So you're saying that for now, you're staying on?
I like that, if you're happy.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
They don't have.
The residents will have you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have been emailing him, asking him to stay on. Danny.
You're on and off, so now you're on. We're good.
I'm here. I'm committed to do something here, so, you know. The sooner you give me that stuff, the sooner you want to prioritize it, then we can start making things happen here. It's just like scheduling. Boom, 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 let's get it done.
Well, the next thing will be scheduled.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing to schedule. The mushroom should be done, I guess it's, I'll always wait.
All right, anything for the website? Don?
I don't believe, yes.
I just want to finish. For some reason, Jeff is not on the board. Can he just finish with that task since he has a profession in it?
Are we still on board?
He's
You know what I'm saying? If for some reason, I don't know, something happens, can he still at least finish that team or?
Yes. I would, yes.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it, you know, you volunteer your expertise on the website and stuff, right? You're not on the board, and we accept.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to be on the board.
I mean, you're basically donating your time and your expertise, so I mean, I hope that you can be receptive to that. You know?
Yes, yes.
So,
And no updates, I don't think, Jeff, you appreciate it. Thank you for all the blasts that you've been sending out. I think we're gonna have more blasts in the future. I think that's working quite well. So I hope you're receptive to that.
It takes a while to blast it.
Not too bad. It depends on some of the website. It's not super user friendly. So.
Nothing new on the CCR side.
The only update on landscaping is that Dawn Preston has been working to clean up the dump areas. And yesterday, they just hauled off a huge jacuzzi that somebody dumped back there. It's a huge one? Jacuzzi. Yeah. So they have to haul that. So I don't know why people think that they're dump back there, but that is, that's what they had to do yesterday. But they've just about got it cleaned up, thank goodness, because of Orange County threatening to cite us. So, that's all. No, no, they gave us time to get it cleaned up. Okay.
Question.
Social committee?
No, we'd like to stay on landscaping for a minute. I have a question. Who made the decision to mow that back there? And by what letter are we being threatened by Orange County?
We didn't get a letter. We got a verbal, I don't know if it was a warrant, you want to call
Who is that?
It's been a while.
Well, we need their name, because I contacted Orange County Code Enforcement due to the information somebody put on Facebook. That you had told them that Orange County had threatened to cite us. The director of Code Enforcement put me in touch with a lady who looked at everything and said, we have not received anything, we've never been cited. But let me finish, I have the floor, I've got my time. According to Orange County, they have said nothing to threaten us. They said, for the most part, their inspectors wouldn't get out there and walk around. If you're wondering why they're dumping jacuzzis back there, it's because we decided to mow it back there. For no apparent reason, a conservation area has been mowed, not because of threat. I've checked with Vanessa, let me finish. Checked with Vanessa, Leland has received no letters. The county has looked at every single plot of land back there that's unimproved and said nobody has given anything to Cypress Lakes whatsoever about cleaning it up. Secondly, there's a thing called CPTED. Does anybody on the board know what CPTED is? Crime Prevention through Environmental Design. When you mowed that, you gave them a paved highway to come into our community. That is something you can look at, be free too. That by leaving it overgrown, it actually improves it because people don't want to come back there. Not will some will, most won't. So now you've paved a road for them to come into our community, dump, burglarize, commit crimes, whatever they want to do. Because part of that land that you did mow doesn't even belong to us. It belongs to the Board of County Commissioners. So we're mowing our property.
The part that was mowed was Cypress Lakes. Now, this is what I was told by Orange County, the guy who works this area. He said all of this area in here belongs to Cypress Lakes because he looked it up. There was no letter sent. There was nothing other than a verbal warning to get it cleaned up because there were mattresses, carpet, hundreds of bottles. There was everything back there. Tires. I can't tell you how many tires.
I've been back there and walked around and looked at it when I've been out there running people off. I don't know what it would have filled up the back of my pickup truck maybe once.
No, not this stuff.
Yes,
Because it took about 3 trips to get it out.
because I also go back there and fish the lakes and run the people off when I catch the four-wheelers buried out in our lakes. So, according to Orange County, that strip of land that we mowed back there belongs to Trailhead, where the old railroad track ran. It's not even ours. That belongs to the Board of County Commissioners. That's from Code Enforcement. She looked at every solitary, unimproved piece back there, and she pulled up the Google map, and where it's mowed belongs to the Board of County Commissioners, and part of it back behind it is ours. So I would like to know who the person is. If you want to do some research, find that gentleman's name that did it, because Orange County Code Enforcement said they didn't do that. Secondly, what was the cost for that?
It was a trade-off.
What was the cost for it?
Valley Crest owed us $1,600, so to dump all the stuff, pick all the stuff up, including the jacuzzi and everything, yeah.
When was that approved? What mean?
That was a trade-off that we did. I had said it at a meeting.
No, that has never been discussed.
Yeah, it has.
Well, we can pull the minutes up. Hold a second, please. We can pull the minutes up and look at that. But secondly, we go out there and have a agenda item on spending $200 for a computer, but $1,600 we don't discuss with the residents. We talk about where all this money comes from. Let's go back to landscaping a little further. We're worried about where we're going to pull money from. How much money did we spend with Larry Evans? What's the total cost?
Probably about around $50,000.
What was the line item for that?
Line item was 40 and 10 was in reserves.
Okay, so we overspent on
You
that.
know what? We're not talking about all this stuff. We're staying with the agenda. You're getting off.
Landscaping. Landscaping is agenda.
Landscaping, but it is nothing to report other than what they have done.
We're also asking about how our money's being spent. And we have the right to ask how our money's being spent.
Yep.
We just spent probably 30 minutes discussing how we save our money and how we spend it to pay for the things the community wants. So now we're asking, why are we overspending on these items?
This is a credit.
A credit?
Yeah, it was a credit.
Go ahead, man. I yield my time to Mandy. Thank you.
Okay, what I don't understand is if you got a credit for $1,600 or money that was owed to us, that was committed for one thing, then there needed to be a vote taken for you to spend another additional $1,600 to do something that was not in their RFP originally.
Well, it
Because
was
their landscaping work was never designated to do that.
It was a credit from Valley Crest, okay, because we were being charged for something they were not doing, okay? So they gave us a credit. We did discuss it, that we would spend it to clean up the area back there before we
What
have
minutes
signs
were
like
that
this county.
discussed? What minutes were that discussed?
You're not supposed to be talking about stuff unless it's at a meeting.
And
You
you
guys all
yeah.
campaigned on transparency.
Well, it may have been one of the meetings that everybody was talking at when we were trying to discuss things.
Still would have had a vote.
I've been to all the meetings, and you got minutes.
Not all of them.
You got minutes. I'd like to see the minutes, somebody find them, where you said you talked about it, because it's never happened. It's never happened. Landscaping, let's stay on landscaping a little more, about liability of issues. When we had our irrigation pumps put in, we pull a permit.
That is up to the person that's doing it. It's not the board's responsibility to make sure permits are pulled or anything else.
Okay, is it the board's responsibility to make sure that person's licensed to do the work?
No, we're not. We're not responsible for it. They are the ones who are licensed. It goes, we got the vendor through Leland.
Who is licensed? Who is licensed to put in the irrigation pumps?
You don't have to have a license to work on existing irrigation.
Incorrect, according to your, let me finish, the gentleman you sent me to said if they're changing, his exact thing is impeller, it's no problem, it's maintenance. He said when you take out that pump and you have to rewire electrical, it requires a permit and an inspection because you're high voltage electricity.
And I talked to Larry about that, Larry Lawrence, and he said he was not sure about that.
When I talked to him, he was absolutely positive, and the deputy chief of electrical assured me that when you pulled out those irrigation pumps, it required, because it's high voltage. Also, the pool pumps require.
What was the voltage on it?
What's that?
Did they tell you what the voltage?
They said it's high voltage. That's out of the inspector, the electrical inspectors.
Okay.
So we didn't pull permits for that, so we're open up for liability. We had an unlicensed contractor doing electrical work on our systems. The only permits that's ever been pulled for this clubhouse has been for irrigation heads in 2002. Obviously, the pool contractor didn't pull anything by putting in new pool pumps for electrical as well. What happens, I think a lot of people may have seen the video of the kids getting electrocuted in the pool down in South Florida. What happens if this pump, which has water going through it, electrocutes a resident because nobody's inspected it? Somebody please tell me why we're expecting our residents to follow the rules, but our board isn't following the rules by making sure we're hiring licensed contractors who have the expertise to do the work we paid them to do. So when my children, Avi's children, Sarah's children, anybody else's child gets in that pool, we know that they're perfectly safe.
The only thing I can tell you is if someone puts in pool pumps or anything else, we are assuming that they are pulling the proper permits.
Did we have a conversation, Linda, you and I, about Larry Evans and licensing? And didn't you personally say that you checked it and he had a license?
No, I did not tell
You
you.
said that to me 2 weeks ago.
I checked he had a license because I did not ever check until after all of this was brought up.
You told us beforehand that you personally checked
No,
and Larry had a
I
license.
never personally checked him. Personally,
You checked wrong.
No, I never looked him up. He came through Leland.
You checked wrong.
Because he did not come through Leland.
What is your procedure when you get proposals? Does Leland ask for this information?
We asked for the insurances and the license.
Okay.
Well,
Has
he
any
has
of
license.
these people that have done work for Cypress Lakes not had the proper credentials?
Not to my knowledge.
Do they actually
this is
send
all
you
about-
a copy of it so it's on file?
Of their license, yes.
And their
insurances.
permits and all that stuff?
Not the permits, because again, if they're doing what they were doing here, which is existing projects, they would have to just not do reports, any permits. But I didn't know about the pump, and he was not putting something